was me. So.
All right. Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this November 17th Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting. Mr. Chairman, we have a full board here tonight.
Awesome. Isn't that great? Thanks, Tom. We will call to order the November 17th meeting, regular meeting of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting, and a quick roll call. Phil Cranmer.
Present.
Jason Alberici.
Present.
Allison Catula.
Present.
Stephanie Butler.
Present.
Morgan Van Gelder.
Present.
Joey Costanzo.
Present.
And myself. Now we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is the approval of the meeting agenda. Tom, do we want to move the item 8A to the beginning of the meeting
That's your call, Mr. Chairman. We certainly can.
for our gracious participants who agreed to join us today?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to move 8A, discussion of field allocations, to right after public comment.
Motion by Jason,
Second.
second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Next item is an approval of the past meeting minutes that are in front of you. A meeting chaired by Mr. Cranmer. I saw one typo in it.
My apologies.
Somebody spelled your name wrong, Tom, in the committee reports under Hopewell Baseball.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the Thursday, September 15th meeting
As amended.
as amended.
I'll second.
Motion by Phil, second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Public comment. Tom, do we have any public comment today?
I have not received any public comment cards.
Okay. No public comment. So that being the case, we will move to item 8A, new business discussion of field allocation for spring sports.
All right,
Tom?
Mr. Chairman, we are at that point where we should be looking at this spring allocation for our sports that share fields. And we have invited our program providers that do participate on those fields to be in attendance tonight. The majority are here, which is great. And this is intended to be more of a kickoff of that discussion. We will have an actual allocation meeting, either in person or over Teams, in the early January time period, once all the registrations are in. But tonight's more of just a preliminary discussion in front of the board with, where our programs are and where they've been, the growth, what they expect they might need in the spring, just to give us a heads up, and we can start kind of maybe just looking generally as to what things might shape up to be. Right now, you never know, one program might explode and we got to find out how to accommodate them. Right. But that's the intent tonight. And, I'll allow, the board here to decide how we want to handle this discussion. But I might recommend having the programs come up first and just kind of talk about what they've got going on and what they expect for the spring. And then that can open up into a board discussion.
Sounds like a plan to me. You got any particular order you want to go in?
I don't.
We could have drawn straws, but
Who walked in the room first?
Yeah. Yeah. Kara, why don't you come up?
I had that feeling. I'm Kara Murray. I work at Rush Union. And it is our adult soccer league that is run on the, by the way, we had a great experience this weekend. Our youth tournament, actually, we rented the field. And I can tell you a lot of people did not even know that the fields existed or were redone. So expect some phone calls, I'm assuming.
Carol, before you talk too much, can you just pull that microphone a little
I
closer
can.
to you?
Usually my voice is loud enough that
Thank you.
everybody can hear. Actually, our program is growing. I've noticed the amount of teams that we're getting in is starting to grow, and especially in the fall, we'll be heading into the winter not this Monday, the following Monday, we start again. And then spring season, we're looking to start end of February, I think maybe February 20th. And then I have a feeling we're going to be growing a couple of more teams from interest that I'm getting and phone calls. And I would also like to start publicizing more in the actual community of Milton, not just, our wheelhouse, not just for the Rush people. Because I think a lot don't know about the fields, the league, and things like that. So I'd like to possibly start putting signage around, maybe, Bell, of course, I'll have them at my fields. Just local places that I know where a lot of the Milton people will be that might not necessarily be into soccer, with their kids, but with adults, so that we can kind of grab them and even grow the league more to get more Milton residents in there. I know you said we're at like 35% as Milton residents, and the rest are out of city. And so that's where we are now. We actually ended yesterday, was the end of our fall season. So I got some pictures for you of the winning teams. And so, but it's been going great. It's a fantastic thing for us, getting positive feedback. And again, the fields, they're fantastic. So, and even though we had to deal with it's not all the way done there, it was still fantastic. I mean, you saw, we had a lot of people smushed into a small spot, and it worked. So we did.
The building was supposed to be completed. The demolition of the building was supposed to be completed last week. And while it was down, they didn't finish grading the dirt and putting the asphalt over the top to make it a parking space. And so we had rain on Thursday and a little bit on Friday, and it turned the dirt into it was mud. You couldn't even get a vehicle through it, let alone park in it. So it was probably about 20% reduced parking in an already tiny little parking area. But they made it work.
We made it work.
And I was able.
I survived.
I went twice.
Because it would be me that would be, under fire, and it worked. Just people have to have patience and consideration, and it's kids, and trying to drill that into people and just kind of go with it. Everybody will play, we'll find parking, and it worked. And they got used to it. Once they were there for the first time and they come back during the day, they started knowing, all right, we're going to come early or, whatnot. And I told them, do not park across the street at the church, because I was hearing people say, hey, we could do that. I'm like, no, you can't. And so that might be something that you kind of even put signs up or whatnot, so that you keep a good relationship with, I think it's Ebenezer Church or, yeah. And that's Rush Union.
Carol, question, it was Carol, right?
It is Carol.
Is there any feedback you have for us? Is there anything that the city can do to better promote your program?
It's just getting it out there. And social media, I always see it. It just depends on who's on there, and our kind of demographic might not be, some might be on Facebook, but a lot may not be. And so it's just really a lot to do with soccer, and especially like adult leagues and whatnot, is word of mouth. But I know myself, like I lived at Bell Memorial for years and years and years when my son was playing baseball. There's always so many people there that I think it might be an opportunity to, just put signage around so that they know registration's open. It's, in conjunction with the city of Milton. And I think that will help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carol, for those of us who don't know, how many days a week are you on the fields?
2 days a week. So Monday and Wednesdays.
Okay.
Monday is 11v11. So we're utilizing 2 fields. We're running 2 games simultaneously, and then they go back to back. And then Wednesdays, we actually are running 2 games on one field.
And then one game at a late slot.
And then yep. And so we actually are running 5 games altogether. He tried to squeeze another one in, and I said, I don't know where you're going to put him. And then it just depends, because you do have that 7v7 field that could be, but a lot of times when we're there, there's still kids that are, on that field. So, but it works even with the baseball fields and everything on there for our baseball parents. So, yeah.
And on Monday and Wednesday, you are the later slots.
Yes.
There's still early slots for youth.
So I think on Mondays we start.
But there is one slot that a youth team could take, the earlier game that you have.
Yes, on the
And
on
then,
the
and then the late slot is usually beyond what
and
youth
we
would
could
want
push
anyways.
it, later and condense things and whatnot if it does. Because again, my head is all youth sports as well, so I get trying to fit everybody, especially brand new turf fields that the city has, we haven't had. So maybe a couple more. Helps out with rain, I can tell you that. So.
Tom, on the issue of publicity, I mean, with pictures, couldn't Greg do something with that? And
Yeah, we
communications-
actually talked before the meeting about even having some signage out at Bell Park, some actual signs that have QR codes or whatever you want.
Just a QR code. Yep,
Yeah,
QR codes are the easiest
adult
thing.
soccer offered by the city through Rush, and just get it in their faces outside of just Facebook.
sounds like.
And I'll do signage and I'll run it by you and whatnot so you can see, because I'd also like to put it inside. My indoor programs are about to start, and so I have a captive audience, whether they like it or not. They're all together in a small space for a couple of hours, and so I think that will help as well. And then we kind of go from there. But I've definitely seen it grow. Winter probably is the smallest out of all the seasons. I expect spring to be bigger than what the fall was. So, and I think we added 2 more teams. And I have from another organization teams calling and asking about getting involved. So,
Do you do adult at your facility?
indoor, but it's different. It's
Just at the
7v7. Yeah. And those are different. Like it's 18 and over co-ed, and then 40 and over, where the outdoor it's a much bigger thing. And well, I probably shouldn't, but our indoor is being, we're redoing the indoor. And so it's not publicized yet. Apparently I just publicized it
is
right
now.
So our public doesn't really know. Some do, some do not. We're finalizing the contracts. And so end of February, things are getting ripped up. So I am super excited because that helps me, with my indoor programs and whatnot, but it also helps even for the city. I know I get phone calls all the time as soon as it starts raining to utilize our field. And I can't rent it out because I have our kids that go on there, and our adults would prefer to play outdoor. And they like the turf.
Other questions for Carol?
I'm good.
Karen, my only question. So Monday and Wednesday nights, Adult League starts at 7:30, both those nights?
Monday is 7:30, Wednesday is 8, or vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah, so we go in the later.
Or 8, okay.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Like the last games start at like 9 or 9:15 is the kickoff. Yeah.
Right. Anything else? Okay, thanks,
Okay.
Carol.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Carol. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you. Well,
Appreciate
thank
your.
Thank you.
Do we have a volunteer?
Hey, my name is Ryan Lee. I'm here representing Hopewell Baseball. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
So a couple weeks ago, we finished up our fall session. We had about roughly 750 kids. That was up from the previous fall. It's a big turnout for fall. If you had to compare against other programs in the area, I would say that some of those fall numbers surpass the spring numbers, which is kind of the high season for baseball. Going into the spring, we have already about 400 early registration. So we're expecting larger numbers than the previous spring, which last spring was roughly right below about 1,000 kids. So we should have this year 1,300, I think is what we're expecting. We are seeing the surrounding parks, some of those numbers drop off. Alpharetta, AYBA, Roswell, OC, some of these other parks, Norcross as well. Those rec programs are kind of starting to contract a little bit. Maybe that's part of the reason for the increase. Maybe it's the success of the program, number of factors, right? But overall, park is extremely healthy. Anyone that walks through Bell, like you just mentioned, can see that firsthand. There are kids galore. We are on top of one another. Facilities feel like, I mean, this is not the first time you've heard of this, but you can kind of feel it in the spring when the facilities are kind of overrun. There's restroom facilities, as well as kids swinging bats around each other, which is usually typically not a very good idea if they're in close proximity to one another. But yeah, so it is a year-round sport. We're finding more and more in this area that it does go throughout the year, like we saw this past fall. The summer program as well. You've got opportunities for those teams that are playing out of Hopewell, out of Bell. They don't typically host a tournament. They usually go the outstanding areas. But I think just like any other program in the area, the youth seems to be that demographic seems to be growing, and Hopewell's not an exception. So we're looking forward to the spring. Running some winter programs right now indoors. We would like to have that in the future, right? Right now we're seeing a need or some kids showing that interest to play really throughout the year, and the winter is not an exception. So, with that, and any questions? Just want to give a quick update on our numbers, but field any questions from there.
Where are you indoors, Ryan, right now?
I'm sorry?
Where do you go indoors right now?
It's a private facility on Windward Baseball Academy that we utilize to kind of broadcast that message. It's over off of McFarland. That's definitely something where you could use year round, especially during a rain out event, of course, right? It's something you could utilize for practices and things like that, especially when we kick off, like really in February. It still is a lot of rain, a lot of elements that you kind of want to escape. So there's no chance you could fit those number of kids, especially when you contemplate the select and the travel programs that are offered by Hopewell. There's just there's no chance that the younger kids, 5, 6, 7, 8, they can get in there. It's just
Questions for baseball?
This might be an unfair question for you, but with the growth up to projected 1,300, I mean, we know what kind of fields we have. Can what we have accommodate that many kids? I mean, I know I'm the Parks and Rec director here, and I'm thinking the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Might
anything,
need to consider capping at some point.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, a cap would be one element. Again, the elements, the environment, the rain in Georgia. I mean, that's time of year. You're inevitably going to get a lot of rain on the field. So what happens, right? You've got a park that's already going 7 days a week, right? And if there's one thing that goes sideways, right, then it's a ripple. Everything else just turns into them. And then trying to get the kids back onto the fields only further deteriorates the surfaces, right? Because it's going to get chewed up, which we deal with a lot. Which is why the turf is a beautiful thing. It's immune to a lot of those sort of things. The infield mainly, but that's up to y'all. Really, is a cap the right way to go? Maybe so. I mean, the turf provides a great option. Multi-use facilities. It's a good. I mean, especially with the new facilities that are in place or that are coming about, I mean, it's definitely an option to kind of keep, threading it out. But yeah, you don't really, you don't want a cap is, to me, is as a parent, as a, so you don't want to prevent kids from getting on the fields and things
I agree,
like that.
but
It's in some ways, though, it's similar to having an unlimited roster, though, right? It's the same kind of thing. You got to cap a roster at some level to make it the experience of playing.
We
Worthwhile.
we cut off registration at a certain point, right? It's not a free for all.
Right.
You're in a part of the country where baseball is becoming a hotbed. I mean, it rivals California, Texas, Florida. It is a year round sport now. And it's very popular. So I think that kind of adds to the appeal a little bit too. And the success of the program is great. I mean, there's a lot of kids that are playing high level baseball now in some of the high schools that have come out of the Hope Bowl program. And you'll see that for the decades coming forward. So
Tom, current fields we're using, Bill, we've got, is BUMC in this inventory, right, as
It is.
well? And then when we get to the planning meeting, we'll talk about legacy and
Correct.
how that might offer some capacity around.
you got
So
it.
at some point, there's a capacity discussion around all those fields,
And
right?
we can discuss that once
Yeah.
we get through.
Yeah.
The point bringing up, there's improvement that we're creating some space.
Yeah.
Different than we had a year ago.
I mean,
sure.
gosh, you got to look
Yeah.
5 years ago, 6 years ago, right? I mean, you got to look at what that was when. Okay, so my oldest was playing at 6 years ago. There were 400 kids at Bell Memorial Park. 400, right? And if you look at the facilities that we're trying to use still at this point in time, with that number being increased, you kind of have to look at it that way, and just generationally. But yeah, you can feel it. We've hung out there before. You can kind of feel it, right?
Yeah.
That you've gotten to a point where you're like, okay, they're just overrun. It's just one of those things. And, BUMC, great home. I mean, gosh, other parks would love to have access to BUMC. It is a beautiful place, and on a spring night, bring playing ball out there. It is really nice. It's quaint, it's quiet, it's great. That even could, that has a point where it's like, okay, we need to take this. There's just it's not safe, right? The lights, some of the older citizens that are coming to see their grandparents play, there's no access for them, right? There's a lot of elements to that. It's a beautiful home for baseball, for our kids, for the community, but it could take a little bit more, and it would be a gem. Not that it's not already, but that park has a lot of potential. But anyway, I appreciate you kicking it off now, and then we can come back and circle back in January when our numbers get a little more firm. But
Yes.
I think it's kind of where we're projecting.
Okay. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Todd Marinich, Milton Talons Lacrosse, which is the Milton feeder program. We're just finished out our fall season. We are 120 players for the spring. That's probably a pretty accurate number. They're paid and registered for the spring as of right now. That number probably could go to. We just had a learn to play the other night with 20 kids out there that aren't registered or never kind of played, and we were out there introducing the game to them. So I don't know, you could get 20 more or 10 more. Plus you could have some late registrations, but we opened up registration early and have 20 kids as of right now. 30 middle school or 60 middle school kids. So 3 middle school teams, the senior select, the junior select, and a rec team. And 30, which would be a kind of U11, U7, U9, U11, right? 20 of them being U11. The rest, I don't know the numbers, but, a bunch of first graders, second graders, and third graders, and it all depends on their size on what team they go on at that point. But everything's going well. We've grown a little bit every single year, which is great. We thank you so much for the The turf at Legends Field, awesome. It's working out great. People mentioned parking and stuff like that. We really haven't had an issue in the fall from a practice standpoint. We haven't had any games there, which I could imagine could be a few more people trying to get in there. But practices there have been great. Ball budgets have gone down because there's fences there and everything like that. So that's wonderful. But other than that, no, everything's great. We appreciate. Sometimes we come up with crazy things to do, like learn to plays. Thomas, everybody's been accommodating. It's everybody's accessible. I think from our standpoint and my board, everybody's pretty happy. That's it. That's all I have. Yeah.
So Todd, it looks like your registration compared to the past is up a little bit then, huh? Looks like your last spring was right around 100, low, like 100,
Yeah,
105.
90, 100, something like that.
I got to
yeah.
break down a whole spreadsheet here, but I think that's about what they were.
Yeah, for the first time, we've got 3 full middle school teams, so that's exciting. We've shared with Jason a little bit here and there, whether he needed them or I needed them. So, but this year we got three full middle school teams, which is great, and the younger kids keep coming. So it's been good. Yeah.
And I can add on the Cambridge side, we would anticipate somewhere in that 120 to 130 ballpark too, probably a little bit bigger than where we were last year. Our fall program was about 10 kids bigger than what we had the previous fall. So I think we anticipate that. We have about 40 already registered in the middle school side, which is a little bigger than what we had last year around this time. So we anticipate to be somewhere. I think we were about 120 last year on the boys.
Yes.
And I would think that we'll be somewhere between that 120, 130, 135, right around there.
Great.
On the boys' side, we're looking at a potential 15% increase there too.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Anything else to add on?
Jason,
Yeah, I think
is that 3 or 4 teams?
It'll depend. So we'll have the 2 junior select, senior select on the boys, and then I'll have to see where all the other numbers, kind of like Todd said.
I don't know who will come in from now until we.
Yeah, I mean, we had 2 middle school teams in the fall, which is, and we sent the U9s to you, right, this year. So as Todd mentioned, the last 2 or 3 years, it's been a very good partnership there, and we can kind of send kids back and forth where we need them, depending on who needs them and who can help. So, yeah, it'll really depend on that. Like this year, we sent 5 or 6 U9 guys your way to help you fill out 2 teams, right?
Yeah, that's easy to work with and easy to work with Jason, and that way, you don't have to send 8 kids away.
Yeah.
Hey, we got 4. Okay, we can kind of merge them together at the rec level.
Yep.
So that always works nice, and yeah, I think around that 120 mark, you can really, if you plan your practices accordingly, you can get everybody on one field in about 5:30 to 8:30. One field, you can get your whole twice a week. You can get your whole team on there. This year, hopefully, we can get a field and a half. We'll discuss that later. But if we had to, we could organize a practice in a way where we could probably get 3 middle school teams on a field. It'd be a creative practice plan, but we would do it and accommodate if that's what we would have to do. But
Do we think that we'll have some access over at North Park again? I mean, I know it'll come late, but
Yeah, potentially.
yeah, North Park's great too.
It's part of our MOU. So if
that's
they got open spots, we can scoop it up.
I know they won't commit to us early on that, I'm sure, but
I'm sorry.
they won't commit to us early on that, I'm sure. But that's a good place as well.
Yeah, that's a great place too. Any place where I only have to, that's why I love Legends. I park right there and it's a 10 steps walk with a 60-pound thing on a lacrosse ball. So
Mhm.
Tom,
Legends,
it's
North
is it
Park,
just the
it's
one field?
beautiful. No, thank you all.
Thanks.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
Hello, Tim Godby with Eagle Sticks. I know most of you guys. Sorry, I was a little late. I missed, are we just talking in general information about our program?
Yeah,
Okay.
just where you expect to be this spring, how things have been, just generally.
Okay,
Registration, especially, where it's kind of what we're
Okay.
trying to plan for.
Yeah, our program continues to grow every year. And this past fall, I don't have the numbers with me. I just know we had like 29 teams total, which is up like 3 or 4 teams from the past. We've got registration numbers coming in, but our spring numbers are always lower because it's more, people play more select program in the spring season with their feeder schools. But we're still anticipating around 19 or 20 teams total, which is probably about the same, maybe a little more than what we had last year.
You
So
had 270 last year.
in the spring, okay.
And that includes our girls, right? So
Yes.
like that.
Yes. But the Legacy Park this year was a great addition for our program, and it was phenomenal. To have a great playing surface. We were at Birmingham Falls for the past few years and moved those teams over, and as well as some teams that were using Northwestern. We had more space and lights, a better playing surface. So we didn't really have any issues with the parking. It was crowded. Like on weekends, we had some games, and it was really crowded. People were parking across the street, and I don't know where else they were, but there were actually a couple of accidents coming in and out on the road. There was one last night. It was like a head-on collision. So I don't know if that was somebody coming into the park or it was just general traffic, but it's really bad at that intersection around like 536. It gets really backed up. So I didn't mean to go off on that, but I thought I would throw that out there while I'm on the mic. But
I'll let Public Works know.
but yeah, I don't know what is on the agenda, but if there's another time later to just talk about some ways to plan in the future to help us as program managers to plan, to know the availability for field space we have in the upcoming season, would be more helpful to know in advance, instead of kind of waiting until I've got a good idea. I know what our numbers are going to be every year, at least at a minimum, what our registration numbers and our team numbers will be. And it just, it'd make it a lot easier for the community when they want to plan for their kids. Like we're going to practice, I'm going to register because I know we're practicing on these days in these times. And, it would actually probably help our numbers and then people, because some, a lot of people have their kids doing multiple activities, and some people can't commit to certain nights and that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's on the agenda to discuss tonight, but if it is, I'd come back up and talk about it. So
I think that's more the allocation, right?
What's that?
That's more the allocation in February or in January.
January.
That's what we've historically done
Yeah.
in January. And Tim, to echo that, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
We'd all love it.
What's that?
So we'd all love to be
We
able
all
to
would
say-
love that if we had more fields. I think that would be more doable. But when we're trying to really put puzzles together, and it's hard to promise something now, and we don't know what everyone's registration really is going to be. but maybe in the future we will be there.
Yeah, it's
That's the goal.
certainly something to aspire to.
Yes,
But I think
yes.
I think you came in after we made the comment, Tim, that we'll probably do that meeting in January. Again, sit down and divvy up the pie,
Yeah.
at least for this.
I don't mind. I don't mind doing it sooner, but I just don't want to do it too soon when registration's still going on, and
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you get a lot of those families that register the week before it's due or sooner. You know, the day before, and the next thing you know, I got 6 more teams than I thought I was going to have, and everyone's already taken up field space. That's why we've typically waited till January before we do the allocation.
I'd rather wait till January than commit in December and then rejuggle the pie because of the competing priorities. Because then you commit to somebody that you got Monday and Wednesday practice, and all of a sudden we say that won't work. And I'd rather
Yeah,
make
I
that
get what you're
decision once. I
saying.
know I in a perfect world with a lot of capacity, you're absolutely right. It'd be nice to be able to say, here's your field by program, go run
Right.
with it. But I don't know that we're there yet from a
Well,
number
I
of
get what
fields.
you're saying. And, I think it could be more of an in program thing, like for lacrosse, for example, if, we could work it out with the boys and the girls programs. Like we know what we're going to have these fields and we're going to work out our schedule. If we have less numbers or somebody has more numbers, we can shift some things around, but have a general idea. I mean, to me, it seems like other programs already know what they have coming in. Like baseball knows what fields they have. Now they may need more fields than what they have, but they know what their baseball fields are. In the fall season, the adult soccer, they knew the nights that they were going to have the field to run their league and what fields they had. The flag football knew what fields they were going to have. And we had a perfect amount of space for our fall program this fall. But as you guys, some of you guys were on email exchanges before the season started. We were going to be really tight with the girls lacrosse program until flag football, or not flag, maybe it was flag or tackle, whoever was using Legacy Park. We were going to be extremely tight on our field space until they decided they didn't need it. They were supposed to be out there 2 days on Monday and Thursday. So they said, we'll just let Eagle Sticks have it. And then soccer gave up one of the fields on a Wednesday evening, which allowed us to have a lot of space. Otherwise, we were going to be like doubled up on what we already had. And it was just random times and nothing really consistent that we could set up. We already have 8 teams at Northwestern on one field, 8 teams grades 2 through 5, and there's about 12 kids on a team approximately. So we've always done a good job of maximizing the space that we have. Sure, we'd like to have more space. Sure, we'd like to have turf fields and restrooms and great parking, lights, but we've always made it work with what we've had. And I think just the thing I'm looking for is maybe we can come up with some kind of guidelines in the future how we're going to handle the space and to be able to plan and prepare earlier. Because if we didn't, like if football didn't give up the 2 nights they had this week, and if the adult soccer didn't give up that night, we'd be like on top of each other, and so anyway.
I think too, probably can't do it this year because we're too far down the road. Publicizing start dates and end dates. For all programs, at least from the people across, you guys should dictate to us a deadline to have our registrations. Instead of every program running independently, then we would have enough time to schedule the fields.
Mm-hmm.
And let our parents know that, hey, if you got Taekwondo or you got math, whatever, you at least know your Tuesday, Friday. Get it early this year in hopes that we can get that to our parents, but I think if all I agree. I think January is just too late.
But then we're talking about ending registration before then, right?
You're gonna have to make your best guess, and like gotta be saying, you know, he's been doing it for years, like he knows, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen, right? So I might get a
Most have a
few,
pretty good
but
idea.
it's not gonna push me over the limit to where I need a whole other field.
So I think you bring up an interesting point, Todd, and we started last year with going to a uniform opening registration date. And I think I would be very comfortable to get all the providers on the same page to have a close, because then you're got the same finish line, right? It sounds like. And the sooner you get to the finish line, the sooner you can start the allocation discussion.
The
And
finish
if,
line
if
could
you
be,
if you all agree to close at the same time,
the finish line could be right before that allocation meeting.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a reasonable suggestion to try and.
But if at the
Right with
very
you.
least, the program providers that are using rectangular fields know, we should trust that they know their numbers, that they're gonna they're not gonna have 6 extra teams. So whatever it is, could we have the meeting earlier? I mean, if it's
Yes, we
gonna
can.
be for lacrosse, possibly 5 to 10 kids, and for boys and for girls, it's possibly whatever it is, they know what it's gonna be.
So I'll go in another direction. You could take all the rectangle providers, lacrosse, for example, and you all could decide how you're going to allocate your fields, knowing what you have, and bring us your suggestion to the meeting.
I think that's. a
And then
great
we're not
idea.
even,
That's never been an issue. I think boys and girls have always,
Yeah,
for the most part, y'all figure it out.
pretty close.
Yeah,
It's the diamonds versus the rectangles.
Exactly. It's when
That's
you
where the challenge has always been.
Yeah, I've
Yep.
already, like, Brandon Allen and I have already communicated how we want to split the fields this year but we don't know about, are we getting both fields at Bell? We don't know what times are available at Cox. I'm assuming the adult soccer program will have the Monday and Wednesday evening like they had.
Mhm.
You know, so we went with that, and, you know, what do we have at Bell Memorial? So once we know that, we get access to both since our numbers are growing, or do we have to wait on baseball again to see if they're going to use it? So if we knew that, we could roll and let everybody know tomorrow what day they're practicing and times and what field.
Could we I'm just throw the question out. Could we move the meeting into December for the allocation?
We could. We certainly could.
As long as everybody agrees to come and meet.
It sounds like what they're looking for, the programs here, is just knowing generally what they've got.
Yep.
And it's been no secret. I've had some conversations with some of you. Legacy Park was designed the way it is on purpose, to where I foresee in the spring the 2 diamonds at Legacy's Field 3 going to baseball, and Bell Field 1 going back to lacrosse, to where every program gets 1 additional turf field that they didn't have last spring.
Right.
With the numbers that I see being projected here, that probably would be what it ends up being.
Mhm.
And then if there's open slots here and there, other sports can jump on those fields. Is it too soon to do that right now? I can leave that up to the programs, but I'm okay with just doing that too at this point. If it makes the programs happier, and, you know, I don't know if baseball is okay with getting, 2 fields at Legacy, but losing 1 field at Bell, the turf field. Then that opens up a full turf field for lacrosse and a full another turf field for baseball plus BUMC. That's 7 fields for baseball and 3 for lacrosse.
Last season and past couple of seasons, I guess, we did have access to 2 fields at Legacy. So if baseball is using one of the fields, and then that means, and if we don't get both fields at Bell, then we actually lose a field. So,
Last year, Legacy was getting turfed, so we didn't have anything at Legacy, right? We had,
right, well, yeah, year
so
before. So, yeah.
year before we had the 2
we had
grass
access,
there.
but last year we also got North Park at the last minute.
Yeah, which hopefully we'll get some more of that this year too.
But that we certainly can't bank on right now.
Yeah.
But, and let's not forget, Legacy was very lightly used
Lightly used
in those spring seasons.
in the wet
the-
spring.
In the wet spring, and
As we
it
were
wasn't heavily
reminded.
scheduled either. It'll be double or triple scheduled with turf
So
on it.
perhaps maybe we're out of this discussion comes a December meeting,
Okay.
late in December, and we move it up and try and get at least to a minimum, say, here's a minimum you got to start with. And then we can fine tune it in the month of January. If that helps. Sounds like it might.
Happy to do that. Or do we want to just allocate these fields as we just discussed, and then the December meeting is to evaluate that? Right?
I mean, I think from a lacrosse perspective, not to talk for Tim and Todd, if we know what we have, we'll be able to hash out where, how to make it work, right? If we know what the fields are, I think we can get pretty close amongst the three of our programs
Sounds it.
to know.
Standpoint of, I would say, probably.
You want to come up?
Yeah, sure. So, what I'm hearing from you is you would like a kind of a firm to where you can plan around, right? And I think Field 1 at Bell for baseball has become, it's been great for the smaller, the younger kids, right? So I think there might be an element where you could utilize it in the morning, perhaps for baseball, for younger children baseball, and then, half and half in the afternoon or something like that. You could go and switch it over to lacrosse pretty easily. Maybe that's something to consider. I just, baseball, I don't think we've done any, I've had any events on the new Legacy Park, right? Super excited about it. That's awesome. It's fantastic, right?
Have you seen the fields
Yeah.
with the infield on it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, turf is an amazing thing, right? Listen, no rainouts, if anybody can, you can all attest to that, right? But I think, the addition of that is huge. Being able to utilize that is so. I think as far as Field 1 at Bell goes, you're gonna, all families, you're gonna have more than one kid playing. Oftentimes younger kids. I think there's a lot of interest in being able to be at that facility and utilizing. All of our diamonds are there, right? In addition to, but being able to knock it out in the morning, you could flip it into lacrosse in the afternoon if you're looking to plan a solid or something like that. But as far as practice goes in those fields, we don't need the nets up. We don't need that sort of stuff for practice. So it's pretty multi-use during the week as far as practice goes. But I would say if you're going to do something in December, I would say, let's kick it around until December, January. I mean, it's up to you. You want to make the decision today, but I think there'd be some more matter between the programs.
Is baseball still using that big giant fence on Field 1 at Bell?
We do occasionally.
Because I know logistically that's not the easiest thing
Yes.
to just
Right.
put up and take down.
Yeah. Occasionally. I would
Okay.
say 80% of the time, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So on Saturday, Sundays,
On
you'd have to have the
Saturdays,
manpower to take it down.
Yeah, right. And I think so maybe that's something in Tri-Scape's contract or Tri-Scape's turns it or something like that. Maybe they can get out there and knock it out rather than put it like let's be honest, relying on the volunteers and the coaches to know that lacrosse is coming in after their 5U baseball game is over. Probably not going to remove the fence, right? But if Tri-Scapes knows that, hey, look, at noon or 1 o'clock on a Saturday, it's going to flip, or vice versa, it's going to flip from baseball to lacrosse. Maybe that's the way to help, make sure it gets done and make sure it's cleaned up and ready for.
Will the new baseball fields on, is it Field 3 at Legacy? Will that require any sort of fencing? Or will it'll take the whole?
We'll have fencing for it if it's utilized,
Okay.
but not necessarily required for 4-year-olds. I
Yeah.
wouldn't think.
Right.
Right. Which is kind of how we use Field 1 at Bell.
Right.
The little ones. Okay.
Yeah, the little ones. Yeah, right. However, it's like that's really nice turf. Like if I'm the older guys, I would want to be playing. But anyway.
Might I suggest then that we have a December meeting and bring the right providers together and sit down and play with the pieces so that everybody knows what they got. And this discussion from this forum goes into a staff's granular, detailed meeting that's not a full-on Parks Board meeting, and you guys can walk out of there with a draft.
Do all the programs currently have their spring registration open across the board?
Sounded like it.
Baseball's open.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do.
Okay.
They weren't required to yet, but they do.
Okay.
Either
Right.
Beavers. We're all good with that.
Right.
Lacrosse is open and will be closed pretty soon, won't it?
We have our select open.
Right. And same thing
We
with
haven't
Cambridge.
opened our
But not
youth
rec.
yet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You okay with that, Tom? No, my Tom, out of this discussion?
That's why I brought it forth here. I'm
Yeah.
looking for guidance.
No, I think
Yeah.
I think we've identified some pieces to work
Right.
with, and we
Needs
turned
to
it into a
happen
staff
sooner.
scheduling issue for you and Thomas to,
What part of December works best for the programs? When are you, I sense lacrosse is ready now. Baseball and Kara, when do you expect?
I actually can open it tomorrow. I'm in a different, adults register very differently than for youth. So it's, I have to threaten like late fees and whatnot. Like right now, tomorrow, I'm about to start the late fee. We'll be registering. I just know that my numbers kind of stay the same. They could grow. Honestly, what we utilize now works. I can't see us, we would never go earlier. We could start later, you know. I'm kind of different than, just my demographic is different. I have adults, they need to get there later on.
Roughly how many adults are in that program? I'm sorry if that's somewhere in here. I didn't, you
I
sent
have it.
that. I
I
didn't
have it.
meant to print it.
Offhand, hold on. I have, and you're talking, so both nights or?
Sure. I guess in total, how many adults are a part of that league?
On your screens will come up give me just a moment.
Definitely 2 and change.
Okay. Thank you.
You were at 144 oh no. Yeah, the spring before you were 144. And then fall was 186.
Steadily growing.
Regular registration for baseball ends. We're in early registration. That ends.
yep.
Okay. Juan's been texting me a lot through the meeting. So if we did an allocation meeting like in 3 weeks, like early, mid-December, is that early enough in December where
I was thinking, what if we did it at like 5:00 before the December meeting?
I was just going to say, could we do that meeting at noon? Is it too late to move that meeting?
You can put that on new business.
Yeah. we might need-
that would be the 15th?
yeah, it's the
Could do the
15th.
15th. One idea.
I'll be here.
I mean, it sounds like the only thing that's in question is Field 1 at Bell. Like, if
Or
we
Field-
know if
or-
we have that or not, then we don't need to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Like, we just work it out between the boys and girls programs.
That's what I was kind of getting at earlier is if we find out what we're doing with that one field and the third field at Legacy, if
Yeah.
we do the
And
swap.
this is more for practice space, right? The games, you know, it can be worked out later. You know, we probably wouldn't need it for a full day of games. And every weekend's not home. So if baseball wants to play games on the mornings, on Saturdays on that field, then it shouldn't be a problem to work around and, you know, as long as we know in advance. But the biggest thing right now is for the practice space.
Just to that end, so field one, or we call it 7, field 1 at Bill. From the morning to night, we had it fill up. But now with legacy in play, right?
So Tom, could we go in a different direction? Could you just decide as a staff discussion, here's your January allocation, and then we revisit once you get to your closer numbers? And just assign,
That was my suggestion 10 minutes ago.
I like it.
and just say, here's what you got. And then you can, then we can have a fine-tune meeting. And that way people know where they start
Yes. Yes. Just
based on what we got. And then we can,
allocate the fields as we see fit now.
I'd feel more comfortable having you providers meet with staff and have that discussion, knock down, drag out, hammer it, close, give them their door opening, first chapter, and then you come in and close the book. And if that works for the
Does anybody
providers.
does anybody have an objection to gaining one field of turf in the spring versus what you had last year
And
on the
just-
youth side? Sorry, Kara.
That's right.
And just one more thought, like, you know, if baseball wants to stay field 1 at Bell, then let lacrosse have the 2 fields at Legacy. Either way, as long as we get 3 fields.
I would think baseball would have a better experience at Legacy with it looking like a baseball
It has
field.
a field painted on it.
Yeah. And there's two fields on that field too. So you double your capacity on that turf, and we're not worried about that fence going up and
Right. right.
dividing the 2 fields for safety and all these other things.
Just wanna paint another one on the other side of it.
So we could go that route too.
Okay.
So what do you want? Or what do you need from us then?
Do we have a recommendation for staff on what? I'm okay with either plan here of staff allocating field space today or this week.
I would
And
think that
then we revisit prior to the next PRAB meeting at 5:00. And we have a discussion as to where everyone's numbers are at that point and if that allocation is still working. Or we can just have a field allocation as we always have in the past.
It feels like there was just consensus in the room.
Yep.
Am I correct in hearing that?
I think so. Yeah.
So rather than delay it,
Yeah.
I would be of the opinion,
Staff
just
go ahead and do
allocate
it.
it based on what we thought was just reasonable and fair and equitable as a starting point, and revisit based on registration numbers in December.
I think that's
But what is
entertain a
is there a
motion, yeah.
motion, or is that just something you're gonna
it's a
do?
staff issue for you guys.
Just staff.
We've gotten input and we direct the staff to work out the schedule.
Need a motion?
We don't need to be managing the
Thinking.
No.
field allocation. I'll leave it up to you. You guys are professionals. We're not. Most of us
I heard
aren't.
it.
You okay with that?
Okay.
Right.
Any other comments for the field allocation? I appreciate all of you coming. This has been.
We do have to talk, in December, I think there is going to have to be discussion about soccer. Which we're not going to get granular in today's meeting about times. But in that December meeting, we will need a representative from Brush there for sure to go over, what the needs are for the adult program.
Yep.
And how we can accommodate that creatively if we need to, again.
And what time's your last slot start? I think you said 9:15 your last game starts?
Didn't say.
So, and I know it's not ideal, but there would also be open space at Bell at that time too. Right? I mean, so
If we can get some goals over there.
right, I mean, you could move more youth stuff if you needed to.
Yeah.
To Legacy and open up that 9:15 slot at Bell.
Yeah. Our constraint was we didn't have goals over there.
Right.
At the time.
Or
That's it.
nets.
when we
or
were trying
lights,
to-
or-
Sorry, I missed it. Did you change any time on the 15th? Is it still 5 or did you change it?
I tried changing it.
You're trying to change, did it get changed?
What are you trying to change? The PRAB meeting or the allocation meeting or
No, our
both?
PRAB, well, maybe both, I was voting for a lunch meeting. I could be present.
I need to excuse myself here.
Okay, thanks. You good, Tom?
Thanks, Jason.
Yes.
Thanks, Jason. All right. Anything else we need on the discussion of field allocation for spring sports, other than thanks to all your providers for coming in? Ryan, Carol, Tom.
Very
Ted,
productive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
There's
thanks,
a
guys.
good discussion.
Thank you.
Does that count as committee reports for the ones that were here and spoke earlier?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
kind of what
I think it would.
That's kind of
Okay.
what I was.
Check that box.
Check that box.
Yes.
So thanks. We'll move on to committee reports then.
All right, give me 1 second. Oh, all I have is a mouse. I got to figure out how to go previous. All right, here we go. So we are at committee reports, and I believe NAFL football will be the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have final numbers, but we had 5 championship teams. We had 3 flag teams that won their championships, and then 2 tackle teams. And they had a great season. Good report from Vaughn.
Great. Next up, halftime sports. Just lost Jason. You got Tom, anything to share with us?
The only information I have right now, I don't have final registration numbers on the program, but all indications are they're high and they're continuing to slowly grow. They had a couple of years of increase.
Let them know they can go.
Yeah, if everyone in the audience would like to leave, you may. You are also welcome to stay.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you. There was a couple of years of tremendous growth. I lost a couple of bets with Kim. He was guaranteeing he would jump his numbers by like 50%, and I had to buy him lunch. So I think they're at the point now where they're kind of on that steady growth now, not necessarily jumping up crazy. And I haven't heard any negative things coming out of the program yet, and that's usually good news.
Yeah, we're underway. I mean,
Yes.
my girls are practicing. It's good so
Good.
far.
Okay. Mustang swim team
I don't think I have any updates.
in the off season.
Yeah, the Mustangs there would be no report.
They don't swim right now. It's 28 degrees. This is perfect.
Kind of hard to get through that
Right,
cover.
is it?
Yeah. Anything on tennis, Morgan?
I also don't have anything on tennis.
All good.
Same old report. Packing in had one. I think they had 2 youth teams make city finals, and I haven't heard, but I think one of them, just by
Wow.
a couple of games, lost in the city final.
Awesome. Okay. Arts programming.
I would default to city staff for both adults and arts.
On the arts, you know what? Matthew's here.
Okay. I'll go ahead. So we are going to bring forward to the council, the next council meeting, arts program that we talked about in the last meeting.
Mhm.
Start arts programs in the springtime with them. We're very, very excited for that. Very
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
And we've also got dance. We're going to have some dance classes make again. I think Matthew's done a tremendous job pushing these programs in new ways. Our jamboree we just had, Miss Perry was out there doing all kinds of silly stuff with their kids and girls, and it was well received. And she did some free clinics, one free clinic, two back to back on the same day, and got a couple registrations out of that too. So
Great.
I think once she builds that pool, it'll grow from there. Yep, pretty good success there.
Awesome. Last one is Camp Joyful Souls in the off season.
No report.
Okay, no report. Done. Committee reports then we'll conclude. We'll move looks like no unfinished business. And we will move to discussion on the purpose of the PRAB program liaisons. We probably should have talked a little bit about this while we had the providers here.
I almost made a recommendation to
You
leave the new business items down here, but
we can move this to the allocation meeting and discuss it with them there. We might, I make a motion to table it for the allocation meeting and we can talk with the program providers when they're all together. So we'll table item B. I make a motion, table item B. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
Second by Morgan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great.
Mr. Chairman, that might be the first motion I've ever heard you make.
I know, might be. Might be. No, that was my mistake. So I'll.
Don't you want to say, I second that emotion when someone says?
Weston, sing this song.
It's not that.
Move to staff reports and communications.
All right. First up is the update on the status of the Legacy Park enhancements. So we're not done out there. I mentioned earlier that the first building has been torn down, and Triscapes just today cleaned up everything around that building. So it looks a lot better. The asphalt millings were spread this week, so you can park your car now in the additional parking area. And it feels a lot bigger. I think we're going to definitely be able to get a good 10 more vehicles in the parking lot now.
Great.
30 more than we were able to accommodate this weekend, considering everything in the backside was all closed off. And then we're moving straight into, I've already had one meeting with Public Works. They're the road people, they're the parking lot people. We're going to get moving on an engineering plan on how we can maximize the spaces out at that park, and expand the limits of the parking lot as they are now to accommodate a lot more cars. I don't imagine even with the expanded parking, we're still going to need the Porter Academy, but I'm hoping that's all we'll need. And we're not looking at people parking across the street or waiting for 10 minutes while a car pulls out before they can get a spot. That's the ultimate goal. And then at that point, I think the park's close to being kind of finished.
Yeah.
So we've kind of taken this in stages, and we're getting there. And by this summer, when we can pave, we should be in a much better situation out there.
I noticed that we were over there last Thursday, and I've seen it in not as much here in Milton and in other cities, but I noticed it driving into that park, right? And I listened to Tim talk about the accident. Is there any consideration or thought for Public Works to put up those lane cones to create the right-hand lane different than the left-hand lane?
I can't believe I'm about to say
So that
this.
people aren't coming trying to cut across the lanes to get into the park?
Yeah, I'm going to do my best, because this is not, I'm not privy to all this, but I believe that the city of Milton's working with the city of Roswell to do enhancements at Cox Road. And that would be part of it,
Okay.
is making it safer at that intersection.
On a flow.
I'm on the record here, but I'm also going
Yeah.
to say on the record,
Yeah.
I'm not certain on what is going to be done there, but I do know that
There's a
gonna be
discussion.
improvements at
That's
Cox
good to
Road.
know.
Yeah.
When there's traffic, just to understand the flow, and I get there at a different time than some of I try to manage getting in there right. When you're getting there at rush hour,
Yeah.
what you actually have to do is go to the school.
We send that to every
Right.
program and tell
You
them
have to
put it
turn
all the
around,
parents.
and it just becomes a flow. And what I noticed, remember when I had to call you, it's people that don't come to the park that are making some of the mistakes. So the extra parking will be awesome for anyone who's already at that park. They'll know to park down there. But really the toughest thing is you really can't turn into not during traffic.
Right.
No. And what we've done just to avoid it sometimes, because some people let you in, which is awesome.
Yeah.
My daughter and I just drive down and turn around. But yeah, it's getting better, and I think it will get better. But yeah, it's been tough. Yeah.
I'm sure it's been a challenge for many, many years.
Yeah. I just can't. It's shockingly, I just am surprised how many people are so angry when you get there, and you're like, and it's not. It's like we're all in the same boat, guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I actually know you, so it's interesting. But I do think I thought it got much better through the season this past season for sure.
Life learning. Can't continue to remind people. Next item, city holiday events, Thomas.
We have several upcoming events now that they fall under Parks and Recreation. I thought I'd give a quick update. We do have our Christmas and crabapple event. It's an annual thing that we do. And it's going to be on December 3rd. And you come out and, it's Santa's there, free pictures with Santa. Our photography provider for Parks and Recreation will be the photographers there.
Nice.
So kind of get a little dual purpose, and they can promote their programs for this spring break camp and the summer camps, which is really what they're kind of focused on now, is just the specialty camps. And they do really well. So, if it ain't broke, just keep rocking with what's working. And then after that, we've got the Pancakes with Santa on the 10th. That's a great event. Well, I should say Christmas and crab apples at Brubble Pavilion. My apologies. And then Pancakes with Santa is at the Fire Station 44. It's a cool little event. I went last year for the first time and loved it. My kids enjoyed it. You go in, get pancakes, and spend a little time with Santa. And it's very popular, and the firemen love it.
Which one is 44?
The new public safety
Yeah.
on Highway 9.
Hmm.
And that's from 8 to 10.
Great.
And now I'm second guessing myself on these, so I'm looking it up. So I'm pretty sure I'm right. Yeah, it's at 8. And then Christmas and crab apples from 2 till a little after dusk when we light the tree. And we also have a holiday market on Wednesday, December 7th. And that's going to be kind of like a farmer's market with a holiday theme. Run by the same folks that do our farmer's market.
That's at the
That'll be
pavilion.
3 o'clock on Wednesday, the 7th.
On the green or the pavilion?
It'll be here. Here at City Hall.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
That's all I've got for the events.
Okay.
Providence Park. Oh, I'm really excited. We are, oh my gosh, I finally got the number from Halftime Sports. 752.
Wow.
Big jump.
Wow.
Wow.
He told me it was up. Not that much. So it's a good
Gonna
thing,
want a
good
building.
thing we got those church gyms and Mill Springs Academy.
Didn't.
The Providence Park update. We're going to have a restroom delivered next week at Providence Park. The site works ready to go. They're going to drop the restroom. They hook up, the plumbing's all pre-done. They drop it right over the top of it. They hook it up. The only thing that we're going to have to wait on is getting the electricity hooked up. And the electrician, he's our on-call electrician here at the city. He's done them for other municipalities. And he does not like to run the power ahead of time. He likes to run the power after it's already there. So then he can just hook up right to the building where it needs to go in. So probably the week after Thanksgiving, we're going to hopefully have an operational restroom out there, and we can close out that grant. And
Nice.
What do you mean they drop it? Like how?
it's delivered on the entire building is delivered in one
Prefab.
piece.
Yeah. This
Yep.
sounds
And a-
like
and a-
it's
and a- and a-
media video.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
It is. It is.
Document that.
And a crane
Yeah.
put it up and drops it right on the pad that we've already got set for
Yeah.
it. So pretty cool. You can literally have a building operational in like less than 24 hours.
Should we have a ribbon cutting event with the PRAB?
Yeah. Opening the restroom.
I like it.
Social media, think of the photo ops. I mean, that's special.
City manager always jokes that he'll allow me to be the first one to go in it.
Honor.
I would not let that project die. There were several times where everyone was like, just let it go.
Let it go now.
And I couldn't do it. So,
Perfect.
Nice.
but that's all I have for Providence Park.
Okay.
The last item is city staffing update. I just wanted to make everyone aware. We have our community outreach manager position back open again. Maddie Post has resigned as our outreach manager, doing our community-based events and outreach with the community. But I can't argue with her. She wants to go and be with her kids and take care of the kids. She's got 2 little ones, very little. So I was able to coax her into working part-time from home. So she's still got her hands on the events, and I peeled everything away from her except for the events. I'm like, just help me through the holidays.
Great.
So she's still, I met with her today virtually. So she's still doing her great work, but we're going to miss her. So if anyone knows anybody looking for a job kind of in that realm, send them my way.
Yeah, I might have somebody.
I love it.
Awesome.
And that'll conclude staff updates.
Anybody have anything in other business?
Now, I know Ms. Catula had mentioned the next meeting, changing the time. But we also typically, during the holiday time, will, after this meeting in December concludes, we'll find a spot to grab some food. So I'll throw it out there. If we want to do that again, we certainly can. But moving the
I
meeting
know.
too, so.
Would anybody be open to having a noon meeting, our last, what is it, the 15th? Can anybody accommodate that?
I can do noon.
I just know my evenings in the month of December are bonkers. Does that work for y'all?
Noon works for me.
Works for me.
Yep.
We do that? Is
Stephanie?
that
I'm
okay?
checking chambers right now to see if there's anything there.
I prefer noon.
I'll need another 15 seconds. Hang on.
Or we could go in community place if we had to.
Did you do Wall of Fame?
It is open on noon.
Did you guys do that at the?
Yeah. Oh, Wall of Fame.
Where were you,
Happened.
Joey?
No, I couldn't make it. I wanted to be there.
I
too.
think we were all out of town. Well,
I was-
lacrosse is always out of town during the same event. But I saw a picture on.
Yes, we did have a Wall of Fame ceremony. We ended up with we had a last minute RSVP to be able to come, so we ended up with a good turnout.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a great little event, and it rolled right into the jamboree that we had.
Yeah.
So another successful Wall of Fame ceremony. You know,
That's good.
Good.
it's very similar every year.
Right. And we had the ribbon cutting, the dedication of Legacy. That was
Legacy
good.
Park last week.
That's
Yep.
nice.
Should we talk about the announcement of the new active park space?
Oh,
Well, we haven't closed on that property
Oh.
yet, but
okay.
we are under contract for some land over off Hopewell Road. And active space is certainly
Exciting.
on the table for that property.
I'll come back to that in a second. Let's take care of your issue. Let's make a motion and get that done. So
I will make a motion to move our December, what is the date? on this?
15th,
15th meeting to 12 o'clock PM.
motion by Allison,
Second?
second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Take care of that. I had one other thing that I wanted to bring up about the Milton Equestrian Committee's announcement about the Kennedy property. They seem to have got out on top of their skis.
Okay.
And talked about an equestrian property or an equestrian use of a property that hasn't even been planned yet.
Correct.
Correct. I just want everybody to be aware.
Yes. I was in attendance last night. They have expressed interest in having the south side of the Milton City Park and Preserve that's not opened yet, and potentially the Kennedy property as equestrian use among, I mean, they don't want it to be exclusively equestrian. However, they have the desire to have equestrian use at those properties. So
How big is that property?
12 acres,
Okay.
Kennedy property, and then
Where is
then
the Kennedy
Yeah, where
property?
is that?
It's on Freemanville Road. If you're familiar with Freemanville Road, there's the dip
Hmm.
where the bridge was redone a while ago. If you're going north, it's just after the dip on the right. There's a really, really old barn right on the side of the road.
By
Right.
Freemanville
Right.
Hotel. That's what I call it, that big house.
Oh, yes, it is next door to that.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
like a gate too. There's a gate with a.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are they asking for?
They want to use that property as access for equestrian use.
Okay.
Be able to park horse trailers.
It's
up there.
green space land.
Oh,
It's green
right.
space.
Bond land, but
It is bond
they
land,
got
yes.
ahead of themselves making a claim that
There-
there's going to be
there's gonna-
equestrian property when that hasn't been
I
planned
see.
yet.
I see.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
We're creating internally a green space strategy, and we're not there yet to plan these green spaces, but eventually we'll get to the point where these green spaces will be master planned,
Mhm.
and what their uses will or won't be.
Right.
Some might be better to just be left the way they are.
Mhm.
And there might be some that are well suited to have trails or, community gardens or whatever it may be on those properties. So this board will be a stakeholder during that process as well, as we go through, and
Right.
as will the, Milton Green Space Advisory Committee and the Trails Committee and Equestrian Committee.
Yeah.
And the community at large. So
Right.
there's a lot of stakeholders here, and they're just one of them. And they did talk about it last night on their agenda, but there's no.
Yeah, I was just concerned that they were already claiming more land. They were already got one, and they're on their way to another. So I just wanted to bring it out that we make sure that we're all aware of it and put our stake in the ground, that we'll have a discussion around that when we get to the right time.
Correct.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Anything else? Matthew, Thomas, board members?
So are we not doing an event, like having dinner or something?
We still could. I'll send an email out.
Okay.
And I'll get some interest.
Since Allison
Read
set
up.
everything up.
Or we could turn it into holiday lunch too. So we could,
could.
it could be another discussion. The one thing for new board members, when we do meet as a body of more than 4, we do have to announce to the community at large that we're having a meeting that no business will be transacted at. So we just can't all meet. It has to be
Got it.
a
Thank
formal,
you.
non-business meeting.
Okay. Noted.
So that's a public record. It gets posted in the newspaper, and whenever we gather like
Pick
that,
someone
there's
great that gets posted.
really puts the energy in a holiday party. But yeah, that's all. That's the only reason for
Fair enough.
carried there. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn this evening's Parks and Rec board
Motion
meeting.
by Phil,
I'll second that.
second by Allison. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it. Thanks, everybody, for participating tonight.
Does anyone